Hello everyone and welcome back to the second part of the UV mapping in Maya. Um, as I promised I would lay out the UVs for the second arm over here was what I did. I hope you did the same. If you look down here in the UV texture editor, you can see that I have one set for the one that we did last time we started, which is right here, and then I also did the one over here, which is the other side. Okay, so this lesson we're going to do the hands. The hands are a little bit tricky, so not as tricky as the head, but we're going to start on the hands and we'll work in that direction. So, looking at the hands, you'll notice that there's fingers, and the fingers have faces in between. That's where the things start getting kind of tricky. So, we can do this one of a couple of different ways. We can just map the hand all together, and we'll see what we got and kind of puzzle piece it, or we can see if isolating certain parts works. So, let's start by just mapping the whole hand and see what we got. So, select all the faces for the hand, and if you look down the UV texture window, you can see that some of the faces I selected weren't from the hand, that were also part of the arm and part of what we've already mapped. So if you want to do a control marquee box around your already mapped arm, it'll get rid of the faces that you don't want. And then go to create UVs, automatic mapping. Let's see what we got. Okay, so let's turn off our checkered here. Right click to UV, and let's go ahead and grab all of this, pull it over here. Let's take a closer look at what we got. That actually doesn't look too bad. I think we could puzzle piece this thing together. I was thinking maybe we might want to isolate parts and do a couple different maps on the hand, but I think that we can actually work through this. So let's take a look at this first piece over here. We got, oh, there we go. Looking over in the 3D window, we can see that what we're selecting is the top of the hand. We'll bring that out. And okay, so let's start stitching some of this stuff together. So we'll go to our edge, and we'll select this little set of edges over here, and look for what we're highlighting. It looks like the side of the hand. Okay, so let's go ahead and stitch that on in. Stitch tool, so our cut, stitch, there we go. And what did I tell you? You know, this is a pretty example of why it's good to have this blue window on, because without it you wouldn't know those UVs were all overlapping. Let's take it back a step and see what's okay. So that's why I had some edges on the inside here selected, and that's the reason why that whole inside area started getting covered. Alright, so let's try that. Much better. Okay, good. Great. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going on with this. So we got these edges over here. I imagine this probably connects around to the bottom part of the hand. Take a look. Yep, I see the bottom part of the hand over here has been selected since I selected those edges. So let's go ahead and bring that on over. Okay. And I believe this is probably the end of the finger. Looks like it. So let's go ahead and stitch those in. If you press the G key, it repeats the last command. So I'm not having to hunt for the stitch tool. Okay, so that one's done. Let's go ahead and take, I know this has got to be the thumb, so and this is part of the thumb, so there's some in-between pieces. Let's figure out what the in-between pieces are over here first before I yank this side of the thumb and bring it over here. Let's just see what we get. Might be workable. Let's see what we got. Yeah. Okay, well sometimes you have to just kind of stitch and see if you need to untangle a mess, keep going forward, move back. So let's see what this does. We'll go ahead and stitch that in. We're going to select some UVs. So we'll set here, and we're going to unfold, see if that untangles it for us a little bit. Let's go back to our edges. Okay, looks good. And what about here? Well, I don't see any selecting. I had to have selected something. Just bring it on in, see what we got. Okay, that was the piece we're looking for. Let's go ahead and unfold some of these UVs and see if that straightens it out for us. And it did. Great. Okay, so let's see if this one connects now. Okay, great. Yeah, it does. So we're going to cut off this little area here. Let's see if I can just cut off this whole little section. Well, actually, that I'm trying to avoid making a seam if possible. And that seam would go right over the top of the hand, so that's not actually what I want. I should probably cut it off of this side and stitch it back on, which seems like a little bit of a... I just wasted my time a little bit. Should have thought about that beforehand, but you know, even if you know what you're doing, sometimes you make a mistake. It's no big deal. You just kind of have to recognize that you are making a mistake and need to fix it. So we'll cut that part free, and we'll bring it around to the front. You notice I just made a cut going around here. Like I said, you have to cut all the way around or it won't cut free. I'll make a cut in it, it just won't come all the way free. So now we have this little part here is highlighting. Okay, so that's part of the thumb. Cool. Let's see what else we got. Where's that highlight? Highlights this piece over here. Let's go ahead and drag it over. Edge. Okay, so that part all belongs in there, so let's go ahead and bring it in. Okay, let's finish it off. Well, thought that might have connected in, but it apparently has another piece that goes in there, so no biggie, we'll get there. Okay, closing these off. See if anything jumps into this position. Cool. Okay, we're done with the thumb. Is there any other pieces we're missing? You can just select all the edges here, and if there's anything that jumps in or should go over there, you'll highlight in our pieces. And looks like this one here goes in there. Let's see exactly where. Oh, there's our missing piece up here that I was searching for. Okay, get you in there. Cool. Let's unfold these UVs right here. Make them a little more even. Okay, and looks like we have more stitch we need to do. No? That might belong to our arm. Let's see what happens when we stitch it. No, it belongs to the other side of the hand. Ha. Okay, so let's cut that little end piece off, and let's stitch to the other side. Okay. Let's unfold this and see what we got. We done? We're done. Awesome. Okay, so now we have these little in-between fingers we gotta deal with. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because there's not a lot of space between these fingers. That's okay. There's not a lot of polygons, so we can make it work. We can move stuff around if we need to. So go ahead and select all those edges. No, got a little bit more than I bargained for. Had some inside edges selected. Gotta be careful of that. Okay. Now, one thing I want to kind of talk about for just 1 second. When you're doing this UV mapping, there's a lot going on in your history. So if you go to select your object and you go to your channel box, you can see down here there's just a ginormous amount of history. But every time you move a UV, it makes another, it says tweak, sew, stitch, unfold, auto project. There's just tons of stuff going on here, and you may not be thinking about it, but it's eating up your processing power in your computer. So I always recommend after a few minutes of doing some mapping just to go ahead and delete your history. I have a quick key here that I put on my work bar called delete history, but if you don't have that, you can always go to edit, delete by type, history. I'll get rid of all that, and you'll also notice your computer kind of zips around a lot better now. You might not even notice your computer is slowing down. So anyways, back to what we are doing here. We have, let's see what this one goes to. It goes in between this big guy here. Okay, well, let's save that one for a little bit later. I want to take out the easy ones first because easier is better, in my opinion. We'll get to the hard parts. We'll save them for last. Once all the easy parts are in, we'll just make room for the more challenging pieces. Okay. So that one will have to go in between here. Let's see what happens when we just stitch it in there. Let's see if we could. Okay. Now stitch it. And like it's overlapping. Big surprise. Alright. We're going to unfold these UVs. See if that helps. It doesn't. Not especially anyways. We're just going to cut this one free right now. We'll drag it over there. And we'll look at our edges and we'll say, okay, what else we got here? I know that's also going to tell me that one over there is part of it, but what I'm probably end up doing is staggering which fingers goes to which top or bottom of the hand. That should help me out as far as giving me spacing. Okay, so I'll bring this guy over. I'm going to select all the edges on that one. And there we go. Unfold the UVs. Great. Okay, so that one is pretty much ready to go in, but we don't have room right now to go in right there, so we're going to have to take this guy out and move him to the other side. So he's going to come out. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea just to move all of them out. Kind of just move them in as I need them. But that middle one is going to be one that I'm not going to move out because I need to kind of organize myself around that one. And I'll leave the outside ones in as well. Now, here's a little trick you can use to get yourself a little extra space to work with. The outside ones, we're going to rotate the UVs out on that one just a little bit. So we're going to select all the UVs from, not for the whole hand, just for the finger. Okay, now we're going to rotate. And then we're going to bring it out over here. Okay. And then we're going to unfold this little section. Okay. And we'll do the same thing over here. This will buy us a little bit of room so they're not all just scrunched together. You might be thinking to yourself like, well, that makes it not quite look like a hand. And that really isn't all that relevant because it's not about it looking like the 3D object that it's representing. It's about giving it texture space for it to room to have texture applied to it. So I mean, realistically, it could look like any shape as long as it's even, and it isn't going to affect the 3D model at all. Okay, so that one's taken care of. Let's look at what we had going on here, which is this guy. Let's see about bringing him in. Okay. Now, this UV here that's overlapping, we're just going to manually push it in a little bit, just like so. And we'll probably do the same thing on this side, if need be. The side of the fingers don't need a ton of texture information anyways, to be fair. You're not going to really almost ever see them. But it's all about keeping your UVs even, so it's just good practice to kind of allow each polygon to have some texture information, not to be cheated. So next one we'll do is the inside one on this side, and we can see they're overlapping in this area, so we'll rotate these guys out. Yeah, it's a little tedious. You have to sometimes do a little bit of click on each single UV or vertex if you're doing 3D modeling, and that does feel a little tedious sometimes, but sometimes there's no way around it. You just have to kind of be willing to do the busy work. Okay. So let's see what else goes to this finger here. Okay. Got some overlappage going on over here to bring that in. There we go. Bring all these guys down and in. Stitch just one piece in. Must have missed that one. Okay, no problem. Okay, and let's see what happens when we unfold these, see if that pretties it up for us at all. A little bit. Still got to bring it in though. Alright, that one's taken care of. Still have the inside piece though, so let's take care of the other side of it. That's got to be one of these pieces up here. Yep, there it is. Drag that one down. UVs. Bring that one in. This wild guy out here going all by himself. I know he needs to be stitched in there like the other side, so let's go ahead and take care of that real quick. Stitch. And let's go ahead and bring these guys in. Okay. Is it overlapping at all? Zoom in there, you don't want overlapping. No overlapping. Great. Okay. And I see a little bit of something going on down here. We're just going to take care of that with an unfold real fast. Perfect. Unfold this side too, see if that helps. Nope, didn't. We'll take that one away. Alright, see in our history we're getting kind of busy again with our we got going on, so let's get rid of our history. I'll go to my quick key and delete history. If you guys don't know about this, but you want to create your own bar, I'm not going to tell you how to create the bar. It'd be a lesson in itself, really. But anything you want to add to your bar, you can just go ahead down to edit, delete by type, or this accounts for any key in any of these drop downs. You do Control, Shift, and right click, and you'll see it appears right over here. And if you want to get rid of them, you can just right click and hit delete on that and it'll go away. Okay, so we got a couple more to work through here. We got, let's see what that one goes to. It goes to this guy over here. And we already made room for him. Stitch him in, and we can have to do a little bit of tweaking, no problem. Gonna grab all those UVs that are related to this guy on the side here. And if you grab some of the UVs on the inside, it usually tries to average the size of them. So grab a couple over there and see if that helps. Sure, helps a little bit. And you notice we have a red one here. It means that the UVs are flipped upside down. So we'll take care of that. We'll get there. Gonna grab these guys, drag them in. Alright, we're getting there. Stitch those two. Let's try and fold that, see if it pretties it up at all for us. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's bring that guy in. Good deal. Okay, you might be asking yourself, well, what about these edges that are going all the way around here? Why don't I connect those ones into the hand as well? It's because they don't connect to the hand. These are part of the finger. They wrap all the way around. So we don't have to worry about that. Just the one that connects to the bottom and the one that connects to the sides, which is the side of the finger here, and the one that connects to the top. But the top we're not going to connect because it's on the other side over here. We just chose the side we want to connect it to. So back to our next finger. Just a bunch of busy work here, guys. This one here is going to be attached to this side, so go ahead and bring it on in. Stitch that one in. And let's see what we got going on here. Hopefully a little bit of a mess, but we can figure it out. Let's unfold it, see if that helps us. It does. Let's go down here and stitch that little piece together. See two of them that look like they belong together. Sometimes you have to zoom way in to click it. There we go. Now we stitch them. And boom. Okay, so let's bring these UVs in. Yep, I did just scale those in. And you can totally scale UVs to make them fit. It's no big deal. It's a tool to be used in that manner. Okay, so next is this piece here. Let's see what that one goes to. Oh yes, it goes to this guy. We're going to do it on this side because we have more room over here. I have to move this guy over a little bit. Might want to stitch this piece over here to the other side so we got some more room to work with. Again, you know, I mean, it was a mistake on my part, but the best thing is to notice your mistake before you try fumbling around with trying to make something work that isn't obviously going to work, and then having to backpedal out of it and changing things around later on down the road. So we're going to cut that one free, and we'll just stitch them to the other side. Quick work. Should be close to the right side since it fit on the other side. Let's see what we got here. Okay, just got one little piece here sticks over. No biggie. Okay, gonna bring him in. Looks like we might have a little bit of an overlap. If not, we can just give this guy here a little bit more room. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now where'd that piece go that we needed? We're making room for this guy here. No, this guy here. That's the one. I'm gonna shrink him down just a little bit, just because like he looks like he might be a little too big to fit in there, anyways. Okay, and I'll bring him down over here. Obviously, you don't have to, but sometimes getting it nice and close, if there's gonna be some problems, you can kind of identify what they're gonna be with. If it's right next to it, you kind of even puzzle piece it, fit it in there, make sure it works. Alright, let's see what we got. Not too bad. Got a little bit of overlap here with this other piece. We're just going to go ahead and push it over. No big deal. Same thing with this guy here. And looks like we have a little bit of an overlap. We just pull that down. And I guess this one here. Pull it out. Okay. And stitch this last piece in. And we'll unfold the end of it so it's a little prettier. A little bit more evenly distributed. Okay, so there's got a couple little teeny pieces left. Almost there. I know this kind of seems like tedious work, and yes, there is a couple different programs that sometimes does this better or faster. Hedis is one that I've been recommended for other users to go ahead and give a try to. But if you want to stick inside of Maya and you don't want to go to some exterior program, this is what you gotta do, guys. Just bite the bullet and know how to use it. So, moving on, we got this little UV here. Doesn't want to select. Okay, got that one. Got that one. Go ahead and bring these in a little bit. Okay, and let's take a look at our little last pieces we got going. These guys here. Okay. See if that one goes too. We'll just stick it onto that one because that one looks like it's got the bulk of it. So go ahead and stick that one on there. We'll unwrap the UVs real fast. Same thing there. Unwrap the UVs. Nope. Do not unwrap the edges. That's a big no-no. Unwrap the UVs. Sometimes they shrink down a little bit more than you want, so sometimes you have to go back in after you shrunk or unfold your UVs and scale them apart. Maya usually does a pretty good job on, come on, give me the yellow. There we go. Oh goodness, come on. It just does not want to work for me. Oh well, I can do this if I need to. There. Mine does a pretty good job on averaging the UVs when it unfolds, but like I said earlier, if it has something selected and tries averaging between the two, it might decide that that piece is supposed to be small, and it's not supposed to be that small, and you'll have to manually fix it. As long as you recognize that something wasn't supposed to be that small, not hard to catch. But if you let it go and you get into your texturing program, you'll start realizing that when you go to paint on it, the places that have the super high or super small UVs are kind of blurry, and it's because they're not getting very much texture information. So, alright, so that does it. That wonky looking thing there is the hand. It's all one piece. If you look over here, it does look like there's spots that are bigger than others. It's just because the amount of texture space we're giving it, but it's all one piece. It's seamless. Well, not seamless. There's always a seam. The seam on this guy is going to be on the side here. That's the seam. Palm running around this finger here, and same thing on the other side. So now you may or may not, if you don't want to, you don't have to, but if you want to connect this to your hand, of course you can connect it to your hand, and sometimes it's recommended to do so. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that would entail. Make sure we have enough time to do it. Been on here for a while. Might actually want to save that for the next lesson. Yeah, you know what? I've been talking for quite a while, and I don't want to not be able to upload this video. So I'll shrink this guy down so he's about the appropriate size for the hand. Get him kind of fitted in here. And next lesson I will show you guys how to stitch the hand connected to the previously laid out pieces of geometry. And then we will also continue on and we'll do the torso next lesson. And we'll move down to the legs, and then we'll finish with the head. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next lesson.